7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's now time for the Keg Sports Podcast with your hosts, Josh Stevens, Tim Thompson, and Tom Schultz. Woo!
Hey there, everybody. We are back with another episode, and this time we are talking 2018 NFL Draft prospects, and it is the wide receivers we are discussing this time, and some pretty good ones we got. But before we get into that, Tim, Tom, guys, how we doing?
Doing fantastic. We are back on Facebook Live. We're on the YouTube. I did a show yesterday, Face Off with Facemeyer. Great stuff. Brenda, thank you so much for having me on your show. It was a great time. I know a lot of Brenda's fans were asking. We talked about our Le'Veon Bell jersey that we're giving away. And, we're still giving it away. Make sure to send us a question either on Facebook at Keg Sports, on Twitter at Keg Sports, or send us an email, ponykegsports@gmail.com. Send us a question, whether it be NFL, fantasy football related. Don't want to answer, what do you do if your wife beats you, or how do I solve my drinking problem? We're not here to answer those questions. We are here to talk football. So up to 3 entries, and at the end of the year, we will give a Le'Veon Bell jersey away.
Yeah, I feel like we would be the wrong people to be giving away life advice.
No, I mean, we're going to give you great life advice.
I'd be pretty good at it. Personally, I think so.
Would you?
Yeah.
I'd be bad at it, but it would be funny. It would be funny. You'd see a lot of people in jail. You'd get yelled at a lot.
People in jail?
Oh, yeah. I don't get what's wrong with that, Josh. I don't get what your problem is.
Nothing wrong.
It's Tuesday. It's football. We're talking wide receivers. Why don't you, what else? Just go.
All right. Is there anything else? You brought up the Le'Veon Bell jersey.
Yes.
Explain it to everybody. Joking. You already did that.
I was going to say. What do you mean explain it?
When are we giving the jersey away?
End of the year, right?
Yeah, it should be end of the year, so we should be having that jersey
2
coming
weeks
in.
left. Get
2
your
weeks.
questions in.
Is that end of the regular season or end of the real NFL year, including Super Bowl? I don't think we've discussed that, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Let's do it after the Super. We'll do it Super Bowl week. Leading up to the Super Bowl, we'll give the jersey away. I think that's it. We'll be pumped for the Super Bowl.
Do it live too.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it live.
Yeah, we definitely
do it all live. Do it live. Acronym sake. Let's do it.
2018.
Call me daddy.
2018 NFL Draft wide receivers. Again, we all had our top 5 list, but we ended up with a consensus ranking, of course. We will tell you guys who we each had in each spot with the consensus ranking. So, number 5 overall on our list, we have wide receiver from Memphis, Anthony Miller.
I think I was the only one to have him ranked, but I had him ranked so high that he made it to number 5 on our list. He deserves to be here, people. He might be limited to the slot in the NFL due to his size. According to his school measurements, he's only 5'11", 190 pounds, so he might be shorter than that, might not weigh that much. But he was a walk-on player at Memphis, kind of had to earn his scholarship, and he's been uber productive for the Memphis Tigers. He's got that elite level route running, that elite level foot quickness. He's a matchup nightmare for most corners that try to cover him at the collegiate level, and I think he's going to do the same thing in the NFL. And you watch some of his highlights. He's got a few OBJ-style one-handed catches over the top of his head, behind his back. It's kind of nuts. I like this kid. I like what he brings to the table physically, and if he lands in the right system, if this kid goes to New England, he'll be the next Julian Edelman.
If he goes to New England, maybe. But you mentioned he's Uber, whatever. It doesn't matter, Tom. I don't use Uber. I use Lyft. And you know what? While I like Anthony Miller, I don't think he's everything you're cracking him up to be. He's got that speed and that foot quickness. I will give you that. But his size, blocking, route running, you say is elite level. I don't see it. He gets real loopy in some of his out routes, which I was not a big fan of. So he's got talent. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he has room to improve, and he's going to have to get into the right system. If he ends up with a Tom Brady, a Drew Brees, someone like that, so be it. If he ends up on my Chicago Bears, I'm not as excited about it.
Yeah, they don't have a good quarterback, so when receivers don't have a good quarterback,
Hey,
a lot of times they struggle.
Yeah, like you guys said, it all depends on the system, right? He is, 5'11"? Is that a gracious 5'11"? 5'10"? Maybe around
He's
there.
5'11"
He might
in
grow.
heels. He's
You never know.
5'11" in heels.
190 pounds. Maybe he's probably like 175, 180. It's tough. I don't know if he went to a team such as the Saints. I think you said that, Tim. That would be a little different. I feel like that would be all right. Dallas would be another spot, but they already have like 3 slot wide receivers. So if he went somewhere that would utilize him, and we've seen what Jamison Crowder can do this year as a smaller slot wide receiver type, and maybe Anthony Miller can evolve into that. But again, it has to be the right system.
The biggest downfall I have, like you said, Josh, how gracious are his measurements? Even if his measurements are about right, you're talking about a guy who's my size. Guy my size should not be on an NFL team.
He's a lot faster. He's a lot stronger. He's
physically
gifted.
Pretty weak.
Hey,
Pretty
I'm
weak.
bulking up. I'm putting on my freshman 15.
You had Miller in your rankings. You had him
Number 3.
Number 3. I did not have him ranked. Tim did not have him ranked.
No, I did not. I had Arden Tate, Florida State University, at number 5.
My number 5, I had Mr. James Washington. So, number 4 on our consensus ranking, we have Equanimous St. Brown.
Equanimous St. Brown. My favorite man in football. Josh likes to call him ESB because Josh can't speak English.
Actually, it was calling him EST.
He was calling him EST.
My
He
fault,
can't speak
fault.
English or read. I love this guy. I'll tell you, obviously I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I've got to watch a lot of ESB, but I had him fairly low compared to you guys. I think I had him at number 3.
I didn't have him ranked.
I had him at number 4. So I know, Josh, you had him at 2, I think, right?
3.
No, I had him number 3. Number 3.
Big body. I like the way he can block. He seems like he's going to be able to go to the NFL and be a big-time wide receiver. His hands are the only thing that scare me a little bit. That's the biggest thing. And obviously, the hands on your wide receiver, fairly important, I hear. But with his size, with his blocking ability, if he can put together anything whatsoever, he's going to be a factor. There are some times when he can put his hands on the ball, the way that he uses his body, how physical he gets with some of those corners, he looks like DeAndre Hopkins. That's who he reminds me a lot of in college. His hands aren't there yet, but with how physical he is at times, that's who he reminded me of. So I really hope he translates well. Like I said, I had him at 4, which is where he ends up. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I personally had him number 3 on my list. I like St. Brown. I probably liked him a little bit more last year looking at his tape compared to this year. The biggest thing with this year is they had a very, very good running game at Notre Dame. So it was kind of hard to really make St. Brown the premier guy when you have 2 running backs putting up the numbers that they were putting up. But I like St. Brown. The biggest thing that I took away from St. Brown is the crossing route. When he catches the ball on the crossing route, it is tough to stick with him on a crossing route. He has a very good vertical. He can jump and get the ball. But when contested, that is where he does have issues, just like Tim just said, with his hand issues. But if he's crossing the middle and he catches the ball in open space, it's tough to catch him. I saw a video, I forget what game it was, I should have wrote it down. But as he was doing his crossing route, the corner wasn't able to stick with him, and he took the corner, and nobody caught him after that. He's really fast, and getting that route,
He's got great speed for his size.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in my initial rankings, I didn't even have him in my top 5. But he's that type of athlete, that type of prospect who there's a good chance he'll probably be my top 3, top 2.
You know what I think? What I think will happen is like the Galladay effect this past year. Galladay from NIU, right? He was getting talked about as everything was going on, more and more and more, got all that hype, and I think that may be something we see that happens here with St. Brown.
I think you were going to regret big time not having him in your top 5 to start.
It's early right now.
I know it's early. Doesn't mean you have to make dumb decisions.
Oh, just like that. Huh?
It's kind of mean, Tim.
Hey,
kind of hurt my feelings.
Listen, I don't have feelings, okay? We're talking football here. You made a dumb choice. I make dumb choices all the time. You guys call me out. Make fun of me.
Very
Well,
true.
yeah, because it's most of the stuff you say is stupid.
All right, cool.
So,
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? Your mom just heard that. Your mom just joined the show chat. How about
excellent, good.
that?
Next
Mrs.
up,
Stevens, I miss you and I love you.
Next up, we have number 3 on our list. We have Simi Cobbs Jr., Indiana.
Simi Cobbs, he's one of those big boy wide receivers. School measurements have him at 6'4", 220 pounds. Kind of got that Mike Evans build. Very good at using his size against the smaller defenders. That's exactly what you want from a receiver at his size. Excels in contested catch in that department. Very good at that. He understands how to win those 50-50 balls. Pretty good run after the catch ability for a guy his size, but if you want to see this kid's upside, just watch that Ohio State film. I wish every game he produced like that, and he didn't. That's the one thing with him, but it kind of shows you the ceiling that this kid has. An NFL coach is going to need to light a fire under this kid's ass if they want him to start blocking. His run blocking is terrible. Tons of times where he just absolutely whiffs on a smaller defender. He should be manhandling those guys, but Mike Evans had the same issue in college, and now he's one of the fiercest run blockers as a receiver in the NFL. If they can get that out of Simi Cobbs, he's got the upside to be a first-round draft pick and to be a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL.
Exactly like you said, Tom. Big physical body, my type of wide receiver. Great hands, goes up and gets the contested ball. But exactly like you said, his blocking is just atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. And I don't know if that comes just from playing at Indiana. I mean, you mentioned not having a fire underneath him. I don't know if that maybe comes with it. You saw in those big games, when he gets fired up and when he gets going, he can take over a football game. So I would be very interested to see where he ends up. I look forward to, watching him and seeing where he ends up. That's going to be the biggest. If he ends up on a team like Miami, he's screwed. He'll end up just like Devontae Parker. If he ends up maybe in Oakland, a little bit different story.
Yeah, I liked Cobbs. I like his tape, but the blocking, just like you guys said, there were multiple times where you got to see where the play was run to his side. And if the play is run to your side, you should be blocking. And he either A, wasn't, or B, it was just a run and whiff. So, again, kind of like you said, Tom, you have to have the blocking down in order to kind of move on from there. And that is what I'm worried about with Simi Cobbs. But talent alone, and his measurable is 6'4", 220 pounds, if he comes in running a fast 40, he should be one of the first wide receivers off the board, no doubt.
I don't think he'll be running a fast 40.
No, and that's kind of to your point, Tom, is what I think. I think he's going to be one of the guys that falls in the draft. He seems like the perfect type of guy. I don't think he's going to test well. I don't think he's going to interview well. And it's going to be just more of a high upside, second round, third round type guy that team's going to fall in love with him. But no, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to test well whatsoever.
Right now, I wish we could flip-flop him and St. Brown.
Yeah.
Personally, I think St. Brown's a better prospect.
You don't even have him on your list.
I know, but
so tell me again.
I would go back and switch it.
I agree with that. I like that because that's exactly what I had. So next,
Josh was smart.
Yeah, there we go. I had Cobbs number 4 on my list. You had him number 5. You had him number 3.
I did.
So next up, with number 2 on our list here, we have Calvin Ridley, wide receiver, Alabama, and they have him listed 6'1", 188 pounds. I think that he is the best route runner of the bunch. I think we can all agree with that. Polished route runner, and he blocks pretty well for being an undersized wide receiver, but that is the downfall of one Calvin Ridley, is he's maybe 6 foot, half maybe. I don't think he's going to be completely 6'1", and weight 188. I think he's probably going to weigh in closer to 180, maybe even under that.
I'm not really too worried about that. When someone has the type of speed that Mr. Ridley has, he's got elite level speed. You look at OBJ, T.Y. Hilton, Antonio Brown, all those guys are smaller. All of them are under 6 foot. All of them are 180, 190 pounds, and all of them are elite right now. And that's kind of what Calvin Ridley reminds me of. He appears to effortlessly run past defenders in the SEC. Those are some of the best athletes in football. It's great route running, like you brought up, and that's what gets him open so often.
Yeah, you look how many routes he ran where it was just a hitch.
Oh yeah,
and the defender corner, very good corners, would be running backwards still, 3-4 yards deep, and he'd already be turned around getting the ball.
He makes it look really easy out there. Gets in and out of his break super easy. Also, he's in a pro-style offense, which I absolutely love for receivers. A lot of them, they have some growing pains when they get in the NFL because they're in a spread system. Ridley's not going to have that issues. A lot of things people are bashing him on right now. He doesn't have those elite numbers that a lot of these guys have. He's not well over 1,000 yards, not double-digit touchdowns. That's because how Alabama runs their system. They like to run the football. The one negative I really had against Ridley, struggling against good press corners. He needs to work on his hand fighting. He needs to get more physical in that department. And he'll also be 24 years old starting next season.
Yeah, I like Ridley a lot. I like he's just a high effort guy, high output guy. You're not going to have to worry about him. He doesn't take plays off. He gives everything, as Tom likes to put it, 100. He just puts it all out there every single play, which you have to love in a wide receiver, which is the only reason why, I might be okay with him going number one over the guy who we're going to talk about here momentarily. He is very, very talented, and speed, quickness, and route running are his bread and butter, and he can catch the ball as well. But like you said, I'm worried to see how this translates against the top half of the NFL corners, which are big, physical cornerbacks. Go up there, get in your face, punch you in the mouth type corners. I can see him getting caught up at the line, and getting shut down. That's my biggest fear with Ridley. Maybe he gets through it into a good workout program when he gets into the NFL after the draft. Who knows? But he's going to have to put some muscle on.
Do you see him as an outside wide receiver or more in the slot?
I think he could play both, but matchups when let's say he's facing Xavier Rhodes, Marshawn Lattimore, Patrick Peterson, I think it'd be kind of dumb to line him up outside, let him go in the slot, and do his damage that way. That's what I would do if I was coaching him.
Yeah, I agree as well. What do you think the kind of numbers he would have put up, say, if you put him in a more of a spread offense rather than an offense that Alabama does run, which is primarily a running offense? You look at the running backs that they have. They have Harris and they have Bo Scarborough, who run the ball a lot. Even the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, runs the ball quite a bit as well. And he is not the best of passers either. He's still maturing as a quarterback. What do you think? Do you think that hindered his numbers, obviously?
100%. If he was in a spread system, an air raid system, he'd probably have over 100 catches, over 1,500 yards, double-digit touchdowns, easy.
Yeah, you're talking about coming from, if anything, his ability to put up the numbers that he still has in an offense that is so diverse, has so many weapons, has so many different outs to scoring touchdowns, even though they aren't, Heisman numbers. Being in that offense, those are NFL numbers.
Yeah.
That's what you're hoping your wide receiver puts up on an NFL team on an average year. So if anything, I think that it shows a lot his maturity to go out there and still be able to put up those type of numbers.
The number one wide receiver on our rankings that we have here. Oh, and you had him number one, Tom Ridley. We each had him number two, which puts us at number one. And it's Cortland Sutton, wide receiver out of SMU, 6'4", 216 pounds.
My man.
And since he is your man, why don't you kick it off?
I just think he is far and away, not even close, the most complete wide receiver in this draft. He runs routes well. He has decent speed. He's got great hands, and he's extremely physical. He's the type of guy, and now I will admit, I'm a little bit biased here. Being with the Chicago Bears, they are probably the first team to be looking at a wide receiver. More than likely. They might win this week. Let's say they're going to be a 4 to 5 win team. They have Dontrell Inman as their best wide receivers. They need someone to help grow Mitchell Trubisky. And if it comes down to Calvin Ridley or what am I blanking right now?
Cortland Sutton.
Thank you. Cortland Sutton. It's not even close. Cortland Sutton is that body that you have to have in there. You can't, as much as I love Ridley, you can't bring in a 5'11 speedster who you don't know what you're going to get out of. Cortland is that big physical body that you need, someone that Trubisky can just go throw the ball up to and potentially be a superstar. That's what you want. So that was my thought process of taking Sutton.
Yeah, if the Bears get him, it would help Mitchell Trubisky. He's going to be that threat in the red zone that they really don't have right now. He's good at those 50-50 balls. SMU's system, they've used Sutton in the slot. They've used him on the outside, and he's done good in both spots. So he's got the ability to play in both spots for the Bears or any team that drafts him, which would be a big-time plus. He's also a very good blocker. I don't think you brought that up, Tim. Very physical, uses his size very well, and he's very willing, kind of a chippy blocker. I like to see that out of the receivers. Little cons, we haven't really been bringing those up too much. Doesn't seem super fast to me. It takes him a little bit of time to gain his speed. He's got that Mike Evans in him, kind of brought Evans up with Simi Cobbs, but similar players in my eyes. Not in a pro-style offense. Might need to work on his overall route tree. Doesn't run the whole route tree right now. But he's got a very, very high ceiling. Maybe the highest ceiling out of anyone in this class. And that's why he probably deserves to be number one right now.
Yeah, it'll be very fun and interesting to see where this all goes. On your most recent mock draft, Tom, you flip-flopped Calvin Ridley and Cortland Sutton, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I had Sutton going to the Bears.
That brings me to my next point, because I was going to ask you guys, and you were talking about that as well, Tim. I think a Sutton addition over a Ridley addition would make a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. We saw the Bears when they were pretty decent at the wide receiver position. They had Alshon Jeffrey when he was a taller, bigger, more physical wide receiver. They had Brandon Marshall, who was a taller, bigger, physical wide receiver. And we kind of see what they're doing now. And as much as I like Calvin Ridley, Sutton fits that mold for the typical wide receiver to come in and kind of try to bully the corners around. So I think that would make a lot of sense for the Bears to take one Cortland Sutton over Calvin Ridley.
All I have to say is a quarter of your season, if you're the Chicago Bears, a quarter, your number one wide receiver is going up against Xavier Rhodes or Darius Slay.
Yeah.
End of story. That's all. That is my main reason of saying no to Calvin Ridley and yes to Sutton.
Interesting. One of the guys that we left off the board, Tom, you had at number 4, Christian Kirk out of A&M. Thoughts on him? He was off our top 5.
I feel like both you guys like the bigger, more physical guys. I like the smaller, better route runner, more explosive playmaker. That's kind of what Kirk is. Very good returner, just an explosive playmaker. Reminds me of a Corey Coleman type receiver, smaller, more athletic, extremely fast. I like those guys that are burners.
Yeah, I like Christian Kirk a lot. I like the fact that he's from A&M. I like that he comes from that wide receiver tree, in a sense. You have the Mike Evans, you have the Josh Reynolds that came out last year. So you have consistently good wide receivers coming out of that program. And Christian Kirk, and was he able to come out last year, or did he just go back? I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. But if he was able to come out last year, I think I was shocked that he didn't. But Kirk is a very good wide receiver. So another guy left off the board, Tim, Arden Tate. You had him on your top 5.
I did. I like him a lot. I think he had a lot of hype coming into the season. And then very similarly to Calvin Ridley, I mean, Florida State had a down year. His numbers haven't been off the charts by any means. But someone who I think is going to be a sneaky pickup here, probably second or third round type guy who could, fill a team out very nicely. For instance, if I'm the Chicago Bears, and I'm not saying they should do this, but they're that focused on offense, they want to get young at wide receiver, it's realistic they could get a Cortland Sutton and an Arden Tate and be happy as could be. I mean, if you're a Bears fan, how are you not thrilled then to have two guys that can go out there and do what they're capable of doing? Immediate, what's the word I'm looking for? Immediate change. It's all going to depend on who they bring in to coach, because obviously John Fox isn't going to be there anymore.
Yeah, I think losing Francois for Florida State obviously hurt
sure.
Arden Tate's value going into the draft. My thing is, I think with Francois being hurt, we may see Arden Tate go back to school here, and if Francois is healthy, then we may see Arden Tate's value go up for next year. But I kind of think he may be able to come out this year for, in my opinion, the wide receiver class not being very, very strong.
In my eyes, I'm sorry, Josh, to cut you off.
You're fine.
That combined with the fact that all the nonsense that happened with Jimbo Fisher, him being gone now, you're going back to school for your final year to you don't even know what. I can't see it. He's a guaranteed mid-round pick right now, as long as he doesn't do anything stupid. I cannot see him sticking around. It wouldn't make any sense in my opinion.
Last guy I wanted to bring up is the guy that I had him number 5 on my list, and that is James Washington out of Oklahoma State. Probably a lot of people had him the best wide receiver. You heard it multiple times. The best wide receiver this year in 2017, but he is in a spread offense with Mason Rudolph, who has a very strong arm. But watching that tape, I saw quite a few things. First off, Mason Rudolph is not as accurate as I thought he was, but James Washington is very good on crossing routes, and he's pretty decent on blocking. Not the best, but pretty decent, and he can catch, or he's a speedster. He doesn't have that initial burst off the line, but man, when he finally gets like 20 yards down the field, there's no catching the guy if it's a breakaway. He reminds me and it pains me to say it because I really like James Washington. I hate this other guy. Reminds me a lot of Will Fuller when he went to the NFL. And Will Fuller, his first year, were just burning guys. And even this year, when he came back healthy, just burning guys down the field. That is something I could see James Washington do later on if he did get drafted.
I don't think he's anywhere
Late
near
pick guy.
the 4.3, like 40 time that Will Fuller is, though. I'm going to have to dive into Washington a lot more. Right now, he's not even close to my top 5.
No, I think he's undersized.
He looks like a running back.
He does.
He does.
He looks like
he's got a running back build.
He's undersized. I mean, he's physical, which I like. He's a better blocker than he is a pass catcher, in all honesty. But no, I don't like him. I mean, again, like you said, he can block going over the middle, maybe like an old Wes Welker type. You let him go across the middle until his head gets knocked off his shoulders, and then you just cut him. I don't know. I don't see it, Joshua.
Tim, I got bad news for you.
Okay.
So far, we've got listeners that say they love Pony Keg Josh. Got a bunch of them saying they love me, which I don't blame them. No one's saying they like you. Does that make you upset, or does your not having feelings? Does this not bother you whatsoever?
Yeah, I don't have feelings, and I'm pretty confident with the choices that I made. I did not leave ESB off of the list. You did. The one person who's making comments on here, he's made comments about everyone on this show, so it's okay. Listen, with the love comes the hate. There's a lot of jealousy out there. People just wish that they had friends. They weren't sitting by themselves in a hole-in-the-wall basement in a, downtown Detroit type area. So,
when you do watch that James Washington tape, watch the game against Texas. Hill, that corner, phenomenal. That kid is a lockdown corner, and he's going to be something special. I watched that tape probably twice because of that kid.
Yeah.
I was watching Mason Rudolph, and I was watching him, and I'm like, dude, who is this? And I've seen Hill play, but man, that really just stuck out to me, like over and over again.